can read it with a great level of reflection after you've been doing this for 8 years. And if you're just a baby at your business or you just start out, I love it. I think that this book would be a great read. And that's why we're going to get into this book in a little bit more detail. Let's use an example of you're going to go on a long boat voyage and you're going to have to traverse a big body of water to get to where you need to go. What is the entrepreneur? They are what I would consider sea change people. They are having to look into the future and say, hey, what if we hit a storm going halfway through the journey? What's going to be the best route to do that? It's a proactive, it's a future looking scenario. Now, the other thing is, what if you want to do a little trip, a little side trip on the way there? Right? And that side trip is actually going to be the biggest part of the journey, because people didn't go on the trip to like view the stuff. They want to go out and they want to have little, cutesy little times with their partner, and they want to, go fishing and catch a giant tuna, and they want to do all this stuff, right? The entrepreneur is thinking about that shit and going, how can we make the absolute best experience for those future events for the customers? The technician's going, dude, we just need to row them there. Like, just get them to the place. That's what they signed up for. The entrepreneur is going, no. I've got a vision. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be this crazy experience, and we're going to be the best boat people ever. Okay? And the technicians are like, dude, dreamer. Okay, great. Let's actually have the business make money, though. The role of the manager that I see is manage, obviously, but like, they're more of like a facilities engineer. Right? They're making sure the technician is not just absolutely running things into the ground. They're the maintenance people. Okay? They're keeping the maintenance things in order. The technician is just the hammer. Okay? They're just literally the rowers. They're like, I'm just baking the pies. I'm just putting the pizzas together. The maintenance people are like the managers of the restaurant. Okay? They're like going to making sure everything's in order, the accounting and the heads of the people. And the entrepreneur are the people who are thinking, like I said, 6 months down the road. The Russian doll situation where it's like, well, the managers manage the technicians and the entrepreneurs manage the managers. It's a little bit simplified. They're really 3 totally different people, and they really run into each other. They don't manage each other. Think about you're in Scotland, okay, and you're going to ferry over to Ayr, okay, and you're going to go to the island of Ayr. You're on the ferry, you're going over there. Now think of like the Viking cruise ships. What's the difference in the 2 experiences? They have an entrepreneur who is going, how can we make this the best experience for people? How can we make this Instagrammable for people? So they can go, hey, I'm on this Viking cruise ship. What a spiritual experience this has been. What a beautiful, seamless experience. And in America, we've already decided, for the most part, we're not going to make any money on the food. You can just quickly get like sodas or whatever, but they're not going to be like, hey, we are going to be an entrepreneur and actually provide people with some kind of a meal dining experience on this, because it's in America, we've just decided it's too hard. It's too much effort to keep the standards up. Or, we're going to have to keep the food quality so low and so processed because it's difficult to do. The technicians, we'd have to actually hire and pay people well for the technician part of it so they can actually prepare the food and actually make a living. It's like, no, let's just let the government do it. But you go to the DMV, right? Terrible experience. But the DMV, you go in there and there's no entrepreneurship at all. So just adding that, kind of privatization of the government, where we're allowing people to assist the government with and create a business around it. Wow. Just like the ferry ship, but do what you can and try to make some money. And they probably do great, and they probably make a living without a whole lot of government subsidies, because it makes sense, because there's a lot of people in this ferry and they're hungry. But if you look at the cover, why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it. And his main idea is that most businesses don't have what? They don't have an entrepreneur. Why most businesses don't work, like the title here, no entrepreneur. You can't be the government. The government can get away with having no entrepreneur. The government has a captive audience. There's no way we can get to the freaking island without the boat. Exactly. But Scotland doesn't do that, because Scotland is thinking of the tourists. They are thinking of the people that come to their country, and they want to support those people because they come in and they spend a bunch of money. The United States says, we don't give a shit about that. We make all of our money from technology. We make all of our money going to fast food restaurants and, all this. We're not trying to make money off of the tourism. It's a total screw up, in my opinion. The tourism is around these metropolis, these huge areas. It's not around these nature places. And they're like, well, if you want to go to the nature places, you're probably not going to care about food anyways. It's not like London, right? When you go to London, you're not going to the islands. Where are you going to go? Yeah, exactly. You're going to the public transit. You're going to see the double decker buses. So as a technician, if you're just a sole technician, how does that go for you? Because you're going to be forced to do some entrepreneurial work. Let's give you an example, right? Your customer comes to you and they say, "Hey, I really, really, really have liked your business. I want to keep doing business with you, but I've got a problem. I need you as a planner. I need you to start using this software, okay? Where we do it because we're forced to, because the government's making us use this new software. You have to, because what happens? What happens in a business? You get Sam Altman. Do you know who Sam Altman is? He's the ChatGPT guy. He took OpenAI and he went to Microsoft and he was like, "Hey guys, I got this technology. Let's make it public." And Microsoft's like, "Are you serious?" "Yeah, we'll take your technology and make it public. This is insane. Let's partner and let's do it. You know, we didn't want to create this AI, but you're just gonna give it to us." And Sam Altman's like, "Yeah, here you go." What happened when he took that to Microsoft and now it's public? Changes every single company for the rest of humanity, okay? And there's been a bunch of Sam Altmans throughout history, over and over again, making new technologies, and that changes the business for everybody. And now your business, who was once competitive, is now not competitive anymore. It gets harder. Now you have this technology that you're not adopting, you know, and this is what really happened to me when I was a lawyer at first, is I was running into these things where it's like, guys, what is going on with technology? And they were technicians, they were managers. So in the very first chapter, I think it's the first page even maybe, he's like, "Do you know what happens to people? Why they start businesses? Oh, they have this great fleeting idea and they just all comes to them and they're like, oh, I got a great idea, I'm gonna start a business." No, most people are forced into it because they're like, "Dude, I don't want to do the work at this job anymore." And that's exactly what happened to me. It's like, this is so frustrating for me that we have to deal with all this managerial stuff. I'm gonna start my own business and then become an engineer. And that's what happened to me. And that's exactly what happened to me. It was like, dude, guys, when I first started at the law firm, think about this, okay? They were using typewriters. 2016 probably. Okay, I like that. So yeah, about that time period, a PDF had probably been a thing for what, 30 years? I don't know, a long time. Using the typewriter, and they're typing out like a receipt or something for a client, you know, like a billing or a receipt. I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, are you using a typewriter?" And the assistant was like, "This is like, yeah, it's faster this way." In my brain, I still can't even, like, I'm having a hard time like thinking about what that meant. Like, it's faster. There's no way you're telling me that doing the receipt on a Word document and printing it out is faster to do on a typewriter. But because in her mind, a typewriter is more flexible. It's not, right? If you know how to use Word, and you know how to use the printer, and you know how to use a receipt, it's flexible that one time, but think about every single time having to do receipts on a typewriter. But because of this, like I said, there's this wall around the entrepreneurial shoot. I need to wipe this out, and I already have it printed. I'm not gonna print it again. It's faster for me just to put it through the typewriter and then type it out. That's why there's technicians, right? And that's for years and years and years. That's why things don't progress and things don't move forward. They're too high up in their ivory tower to worry about the technician work. The attorney that I was working with at the time didn't have a computer. The attorney that I was working with had no computer, no laptop, no computer. Every single thing he did was over the dictation. So when that happens, there is this bifurcation of responsibilities. Obviously, at some point, I got so frustrated of this situation that I'm like, "Guys, I'm not doing this anymore." And I left and I started my own business because it was like, I don't even think that's reasonable. It didn't make any sense. Like all of the things like that. And when you have issues that are that big, it's pervasive throughout the whole business. There's going to be issues. It's not just going to be this one thing, because it's like, well, you know, how do we do email? What's that look like? Well, don't make any changes there. Just whatever the status quo is, keep that forever. And so me as an entrepreneur, I'm so frustrated all the time through the process. It was like at some point, it was just like, I can't do it. Now, what I really feel bad about is for people who are not like me. Maybe managers have it harder, or maybe technicians. They don't start their own business, right? They just are frustrated forever. And that's where that's where the learned helplessness comes in. Yeah. And what happens with people who have no learned helplessness? They create inventions. Yeah, like I was watching this Jeff Bezos, and it was back in the day, he was doing like this presentation. He was talking about the lady with the windshield wipers, okay? Everybody before the lady with the windshield wipers took a cloth and every 5 miles pulled over and just wiped it down, okay? Wiped down the windshield. And this lady's like, "Wait, what? I don't think that makes sense. Why don't we put something on there that just will mechanically wipe the water off?" And all the guys are like, "Okay, first of all, we have no problem with this. We like to do this situation." It's like Netflix, okay, and Blockbuster. Netflix is like, no. We like to come to the store and we like to look at the titles. This is literally an internal memo from Blockbuster. There's an internal memo from Blockbuster that says, no, online will not work because people enjoy that. They love to come in and look at the titles. That is their preferred method. And they had no idea about this, like they said, this new technology and how people could literally do the same thing, but in the comfort of their living room. And then once it happens, you never go back, right? Once people realize I can just do it from my living room, they're never going to go to another Blockbuster ever again. It's just like Zoom. Okay. And I heard this also from, I think it was Rory Sutherland, who's got all this great, analogies and everything. Once you go to Zoom and once it's an option, they go, why the heck am I going to go to the office to do a PowerPoint? It becomes 10 times harder to do that. When they realize that they can just have the meeting online and they can create the PowerPoint at home, they're not going to go to the office. And that's why remote work, the issue is not, hey, people want to stay home. The issue is once people realize they can stay home and do the same job, they don't want that job anymore. They're not going to go to the office and do it. They're going to find a different job because now they know it's an option. And once it becomes an option, it's 10 times harder. Same thing with electronic wills, okay? Once people realize that they don't have to go to their law firm and do this office and go back and forth, they're never going to use a law firm ever again that doesn't offer that. Which is why our law firm has probably been successful, because it's like this online situation. We totally embrace it and we totally accept it. The law firms that don't, where you have to go to the law firm every single time, which is like the law firm I used to work at, surprisingly, I'm sure they're still doing that. They're not probably doing electronic consultations. They're probably not doing electronic drafting of the documents and having meetings and everything electronically, because it's not meeting people where they're at. And once people realize that you're not meeting them where they're at in life and with the technology, they're not gonna use that law firm anymore. Okay, the law firm it won't work, and that's every business. And why is that? Because the technology and the entrepreneur has to be the forefront of the business, and that's what this guy's message is in this book. It's most businesses fail because your leader is not your entrepreneur, and that's the E-myth. The E-myth is, hey, you can do your business without being an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur, the issue we have is that we do not accept friction. Okay, we do not accept it. It's like the lady with the windshield wiper, okay? She's going, I'm not doing that anymore. This is crazy. I know there's a better way to do it, and I'm going to do it the better way. Okay, that's the entrepreneur mindset. A good entrepreneur will see the friction for the technicians. They will see the friction for the managers, and they will reluctantly be okay with some of that friction. Okay, allow some of that friction, even though they hate that friction. They go, hey, you know what? This is just part of it. We have to allow the technicians to do this, even though it's the way that is way more friction, and I hate it for me, and I hate that friction. The technicians want it, and we have to allow the technicians to do it, and we have to allow the technicians to do that job. Now, do you want an example of this? Because I don't have an example of this off the top of my head, because I'm an entrepreneur, and it's hard to think about. But let's look at building a car. Do you want to do building a car? Okay. So the car thing with the doors, right? The entrepreneur goes, guys, get rid of the doors, right? Why are we having these doors that open up like this? It doesn't make any sense. Okay. What the people want is they want doors that open like this, a different direction. They want doors that open vertically, maybe. Or maybe they open this way. They open suicide doors. Have you heard of those? They open the reverse direction. Okay, so they kind of stick straight out in the direction of you getting the car or something. I don't know why they call them suicide doors, but I can imagine it's because it's like the reverse. Okay, the entrepreneurs got going, guys, get rid of the doors altogether. Okay, maybe we want to get in through the sunroof. Okay, maybe that's what the people is, or I don't know. Maybe take the doors off. Maybe there are no doors. Okay, maybe the doors are now, what do you call it? Like a force field? Think of like Star Wars. It's just you go and you just go right through the door. We don't even open the door. Okay. And then the technicians are like, guys, okay, to the entrepreneur, I've been doing doors for 20 years. We have a system for the doors. Okay. Yeah. It's a little bit more frustrating for the client, but we have to run a business. Doing the way that you wanted to do with this new magical door, this dreamer door that you have, it's just not going to work out. Well, a little bit of friction for people to open the door up and for us to continue the way we're doing is working. Okay. Just be okay with it so we can actually run a business. And so the entrepreneur and the technician are just fighting because the entrepreneur does not want any friction. Okay, they're kind of a baby in that kind of way. They want total control over everything so that they can have the business in their vision. And the technician is going like, dude, just quit being a baby and just go forward, and just make it happen. And I think that that's the kind of the conflict. The whole ebook, the E-Myth book is kind of like an aspirational, like, yeah, you can do it, be an entrepreneur. But a lot of businesses, in my mind, are the opposite now because things are so automated and you can automate yourself to death, right? You can just make everything so smooth and so frictionless. When it really comes back to what we want to have these new technologies. We want to do, Notion, or we want to do Slack. We want this stuff, right? We want notifications. We want all the social media. But you know what we always go back to? We always go back to email. We always go back to spreadsheets. Why? Because they're really, really basic tools. Strips everything away, is very, very, and we're very used to it, and we're familiar with it. And let me put this in there for you. Are you spending more time now managing and worrying about the management of your automations than you would have if you would have just done the simple mechanical technician way? Have you just replaced your technician hat with now a manager hat? We only have one left, and that's entrepreneur and entrepreneur's dream. The rumination, what is rumination? That's when you're chewing the cud. That's when you are a cow and you're just continually breaking stuff down, regurgitating it, throwing it back up, eating it, and then putting it back into a different stomach, doing this process over and over again. Okay? Ruminating. People do that with their work. They continually just want to overly chew it, do it back over, feel really comfortable with it, even though they could be doing it better, even though they can be doing it with less friction. They become in love with the process. They become in love and passionate by the process. And when that happens, you get beat out by other people. And the entrepreneur fixes that problem. Manager, though, what happens when you take that and now you switch the cap to now a manager cap? Is that what you're doing when you just are automating everything and you don't have to be a technician anymore? Now you're so worried that your automations are going to be broken. You're constantly managing and making sure everything's smooth. And you're realizing that it takes so much extra effort to then have all the automations run and completely automate everything. Now you're freaking out about that because you're not in the details anymore. Now you're not in the weeds going like, oh, we need to fix this, this, and this, and making sure everything is going by hand. And I guess an example of this would be a restaurant. Think about like McDonald's. Okay, what have they implemented? What do they do now? You go there and you have a screen, right? And you can self-order. Has that replaced everything? No, we still have people. Why is that? Why is it that not every single restaurant is going to be like McDonald's and we're just going to replace that? Well, I would say because that makes the people who run the business really scared. And the managers are now really scared. Why? Because you now have to have this back-end automation system, right, that you have no control over. You're fretting about that. Why? Because this takes extreme technical skills, extremely ingenious. You have to be super smart. Okay. You have to continually manage that system, maintain that system. You know how you get away with that? Just have a freaking person go and use their brain. And they can go, oh, you didn't want onions? Strike it out and you put pickles instead of onions. And McDonald's, you can probably get away with that because McDonald's pays people millions and millions of dollars to now automate all this. But wouldn't it just be a whole lot simpler if you just go, sorry, I screwed up my order. Can I just strike it and put pickles instead of onions? And then the person behind the counter goes, you got it. And they go strike, and then they put pickles. But imagine a different business. Imagine like if your local, I guess Hilltop or your local high street burgers. Imagine if they tried to implement this when people are not familiar with the menu. They're not familiar with what to order. They are not familiar with, really you as a business at all. But they expect you to be as good, if not better, than McDonald's. They actually don't expect McDonald's to be good at all. They just expect McDonald's to be consistent. They don't go there thinking this is going to be an amazing hamburger. They go there and thinking this is going to be the same hamburger from when I was 10. Yeah. So you as a small business, if you try to copy that model and you try to do an automation, you're just going to be then freaking out as a manager of that automation. And what people get so automation happy. And I did this, frankly, with my business too. And I probably learned the hard way on that as well, which maybe everybody has to go through this process. You become the manager of your business and you try to manage it, you try to automate and you try to, that way. And then you realize what you can automate and what you can't, which is actually a tremendous amount you cannot automate. It's way, 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 way more effective to have an awesome team, to have an awesome people that you can rely on, work with awesome people and put those people in responsibility roles, and they will kick the shit out of AI and they will kick the shit out of any type of automated process that you try to put in there. But also tool those people up so that they can automate the simple things that they can. Taking away the roles of secretaries, phone receptionists, or whatever you want to, whatever the role is. Yeah, you can take away the roles of that with some type of automation that can help you, but they're not taking the place of teamwork, and they're not taking the a place of group think, right? 1 + 1 = 3. Why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it. Put in an entrepreneur. The sea can change for your business from a dark, cloudy storm to now we're in this beautiful, smooth sailing, at least for the near future until something changes. And then you have that entrepreneur to kick it in gear again.